All or nothing. Let's just go for it. We're competing and winning every day. Entrepreneurs of the world. Does this sound like you? Do these sound familiar? They better. They are your words, EO Seattle. I spoke with several of you to get ready for this talk, and we talked a lot about how you think about your health, how you think about the health of the people who work for you and around you, and how you think about your businesses. And I found that there are some unbelievable similarities, fascinating similarities. And what's really interesting is that there are similarities between your mindset, the way you think about things, and the world that I used to live in basically 24/7. I used to live in the world of Olympic sports for about 10 years or so. I was really heavily involved in that world because I had the great good fortune to get a journalism degree and a Chinese degree right in 2001 when Beijing was awarded the 2008 Olympics. They do that 7 years ahead of time. And all of a sudden I was working with NBC, I worked with Sports Illustrated for the Beijing Games. It was an amazing time. So I want to start today though in a slightly different place, because there is a sport that I've learned very, very well for the last few years, but not from my work. I have learned the sport of NFL football. And I know a few of you really know this game, so I'm going to do my best here, but just know that I'm not a professional NFL football journalist. But I want to tell you my favorite moment of the Seattle Seahawks season last year. Now, we are in downtown Seattle. I'm going to go out on a limb and say we probably have a few Seahawks fans here today. Are we good? Can I see some hands? Hot? All right. Is there anyone here from the great city of San Francisco? No one's going to cop to it. Okay, good. We're good. Okay. All right. My husband is from Wisconsin, and in Wisconsin, football is a big, big deal. Anybody from Wisconsin here originally? Yeah? All right. What part? Fantastic. You got go Pack, go. You got it. My husband's from Madison. And so when I met him, he thought he'd hit the jackpot, of course. He's like, a woman who likes sports, this is going to get good. Okay. So we go to Madison, Wisconsin in September of 2011 to meet the extended family. We did do the Lambeau tour, got my Aaron Rodgers jersey. And we also got a ticket to the opening game of the University of Wisconsin Badger season. And there was a new quarterback in town who had 1 year left of college eligibility because he'd been let go by North Carolina State. And his name is Russell Wilson. You better believe it. We saw his first collegiate game with the Badgers. Of course, they killed the other guys, whoever they were. And it was amazing to watch. And I just looked at my husband and said, how cool. Maybe we'll make the Rose Bowl again. How did I know? I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen afterwards, obviously. We did make the Rose Bowl, lost it, but it was okay. And by we, I mean them. We just watched. So then Russell Wilson comes to Seattle. We start really watching NFL football. And last season was absolutely astonishing. It was really amazing. And I have a favorite moment that I want to share with you that is directly relevant to what we're going to talk about today. You ready? It is not the moment you're thinking of. Okay? It was not the Colin Kaepernick pass that was supposed to go to Michael Crabtree, that Richard Sherman tipped, went up in the hands of Malcolm Smith, that ended the NFC Championship game. It was not that moment, even though that was a great moment. Was it not? That was a pretty great moment, absolutely. It wasn't the really fabulous play that happened earlier in the fourth quarter. I don't know if you remember that game, but do you remember that Russell Wilson actually fumbled the ball on the very first play of the game? And we basically spotted the San Francisco 49ers 3 points. That is deadly in any game, but especially the NFC Championship game, because the person who goes ahead suddenly has all the momentum. We were losing that game until about 13 minutes to go in the game, the fourth quarter. And they call the gutsiest play I've ever seen. On 4th and 7. If you're not a football person, all that means is they've got one chance to move the ball 7 yards, or else the other team gets it. The clock is running down. It's against the 49ers. Everyone knows the 49ers and the Seahawks are 1-2 in the NFL last year, right? Okay. So we knew this was tough stuff. They call a play where they're going to pull the Niners off sides with a hard count and basically trick them, get a free play, and they send all their wide receivers into the end zone on vertical routes, and Russell Wilson goes to Jermaine Kearse, and we go up for the first time in the game, and we never relinquish the lead. Not my favorite moment of the season. Favorite play? I'll give it to you there. Favorite play. Not my favorite moment. Now, my favorite moment actually came in mid-December. And it came on a Monday. It wasn't even in a game. And it came at 4:45 in the morning on December 23rd. Anybody remember what happened the day before? They lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals. And why is this such a big deal? Because not only is it a loss, it's the first time they've lost at home in 2 years. It's the first time Russell Wilson has lost at home anywhere since North Carolina State, not even Wisconsin. Nobody east of Spokane wanted the Seahawks to win last year. We were in it by ourselves, weren't we? It was us and the rest of the country, because it's just one of those things. They just focus on the big stories. Last year was supposed to be the coronation of Peyton Manning. There's no question that's the story that everybody in the New York sports media wanted to write. So you hand them a loss like that, you have just handed the New York sports media a big old piece of red meat. You just have. And so there they are, and it's Monday morning, and yes, I checked, it was raining. It is Seattle after all. And Pete Carroll, Seahawks head coach, decides to just get into work, get started. I don't know about him, but I wouldn't be able to sleep after a loss like that, right? Gets in at 4:45. And here's my favorite moment of the season. He didn't have to turn the lights on because Russell Wilson had beaten him into work that day. That's how winners win. Winners win because they practice their healthiest habits so much when things are going well that those healthy habits become a reflex when things go badly. Because we're going to talk today not about how to be healthy when things are going well. We're going to talk about how to be healthy when you've just lost your biggest client, when things are really hard. This is an exceptional group of people, but you're on the front lines in ways that most people will never really understand. Nobody really understands the life of someone like Pete Carroll or Russell Wilson, except if you're doing that job. Even us as journalists, we know we don't know what those pressures are really like. It's very, very, very difficult work. So we're going to be talking about that today, and this concept, the concept of practicing your healthiest habits when things are going well. So I want to let you know, I come to this work very, very honestly. I just want to show you something. It's kind of interesting that we're doing this on October 30th, 2014, because on October 31st, 2008, after getting back from the Beijing Olympics, having Lehman Brothers fail, having a house to support on my own that I just bought by myself, and having absolutely no marketable skills because who needs a Mandarin-speaking sports journalist after the Beijing Olympics? That all happened. Tragedy plus time equals comedy. Remember that phrase? It was a really hard time. I had to go buy a pair of pants because I'd grown out of all the other pairs of pants that I owned. And you want to see them? Here they are. Here's the pants I was wearing 6 years ago tomorrow. And here's a picture that was taken of me just a couple weeks after that. So I was 40 pounds overweight. I had stage 1 hypertension. That means 140/90. That means things are not going well. And just to top it off, my father had died of a massive heart attack when I was 19 years old. He was only 58. So I had been told that I was genetically predisposed to heart disease. So that's a whole lot of things to deal with at once, is it not? It's a whole lot of things going wrong. And I knew things had to change. So today's talk is really in 3 parts. The first part we're going to talk about, and you'll hear a little bit more of my story as we go along, is we're going to talk about the theory behind what it really means to be healthy and why you should care so much. Because I actually think that healthier people make better business decisions. I think we think better. Second part is going to be a little practical. You actually have some stuff on your tables that I'll ask you to take a look at in a few minutes. Don't worry right now. And I'm going to give you a very practical tool that you can actually take back into your companies and for yourselves today, just to start really thinking about your health in a way that's really very, very straightforward and simple. And then finally, we're going to talk about, if it's so easy to do this, why do we have so much trouble as entrepreneurs actually doing it? Because I know several of you said to me, I know what to do. It's just that for me, life is all or nothing. Either I'm working out 10 hours a week or I'm on the couch eating Cheetos. So we're going to talk about all of those things today. Wellness, if you get a chance to take a look at WellCOA, that's the Wellness Council of America, or the National Wellness Institute, they've got really, really nice definitions of what that all is. They have things that come out like this, where they say it's sort of 6-pronged or it's 5-pronged. There's often a financial component to it. This happens to be the National Wellness Institute. They say emotional, occupational, physical, spiritual, intellectual, social. These are all sectors of wellness. I want to simplify this because we only have 45 minutes, okay? So we're going to make this much, much simpler just for today, knowing that wellness is about a bigger set of topics than just physical health. But I want to talk about wellness in this manner. I think that wellness is having the knowledge and the confidence to be able to make the decisions that lead us to be masters over our health, to be as much an expert in what's going on in our health as we are in our businesses and in the rest of our lives. And I think it's possible. I've seen a lot of people do it. My life today could not be more different than it was 6 years ago. And it was my journey of asking the question, what happened to me? What happened to me that fueled so many of these questions and got me to delve into the research and delve into the science and get really interested in what's going on. So I really think, and I'm going to start with these hypotheses, I think that healthier people make better business decisions. I think we're more present. I think we've got more going on in our heads. It's just in the right direction. We're more positive. We can be like, this is the nuttiest story about the NFC Championship game. You know that fumble on the first play of the game? Russell Wilson forgot about it until somebody asked him about it in the post-game press conference. I didn't forget about it. Did you forget about it? We spent the whole game being worried about this. He forgot. He is a master, total master of understanding where to put his time and energy, and he puts it going forward. The Hawks always say, what's next? That's how they end their locker room after a game. What's next? That's how they ended their cheers after the Super Bowl, before they went off to their parties. What's next? That's what I want to be thinking about, this forward-thinking, healthy way of doing things. And I also really believe as a CEO, you have a lot of influence over whether or not the people in your organization can make those healthy decisions, and we'll talk about that. You really are being watched. You are a role model, whether you want to be or not. So I ask you to just embrace that idea. Let me tell you about my first experience at work. I was 22 years old. I went to work for the man who is now considered to be one of the most wealthiest and foremost hedge fund managers in the world. He has 1,000 employees. I worked for him when he had 42 employees. I have thought about the fact that I decided to leave that company, trust me. I may have left a lot of money on the table there. But when we were there, and there were a bunch of us who were just Ivy Leaguers, hard charging, fight, 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 win, 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 all that stuff, we got this idea that working late was a great idea. And so he decided to actually support that by giving us $10 for dinner if we were to stay past 7 p.m. That was the rule. If you stay at work past 7 p.m., I'll give you $10 for dinner. And we're 22 years old. What are you eating if you're 22 years old and you have $10 in your pocket? What you eating? Pizza, Taco Bell, fast food, of course. You know, and then let's think about this for a second. We were actually not in New York proper. We were in Southern Connecticut. If you didn't bring your social life with you, you don't have one, okay? So we have no social life. We're working at least 12-hour days. We're 22 years old, and we're eating pizza or fast food for dinner. Oh, and by the way, it was not cool to leave your desk during the day. Wow. What has the CEO of that company just told me about my health? How about that? That's how powerful you are. That's how powerful you are. So let's talk about a few things having to do with the science behind healthy living. How many of you pull all-nighters for your business? Okay, a few of you can cop to it. How many of you expect your employees to pull all-nighters for your business? No one's going to cop to that. Oh, somebody will. Okay, okay. I just want to let you know that the science is telling us, and this was a really fun experiment if you were on the alcohol side of the equation, because a group of scientists decided to get one group of people drunk, and another group of people, they had them stay up for 24 hours at a time. And when they found out that your ability to make decisions, the mental impairment of having a blood alcohol level of 0.10% is equivalent to being up for 24 hours without sleep. Now think about how we treat our doctors, how we treat people who have to stay up for very long shifts. This is one of the biggest statistics that worries me so much about American society, because we spend so much time thinking we have to be working all the time, and our bodies actually have evolved to absolutely need sleep. Our brains are doing things when we're sleeping. Have you ever had a really vexing problem and you go to bed and then the next morning you've got an answer for it? Who's had that experience? That's real stuff. So that's the sleep part of the equation. Okay. How about, let's talk about this one. This is a great local author. His name is John Medina. He is hilarious if you ever get a chance to watch him speak. And he has a great book called Brain Rules that talks all about how the brain actually works. And what he says here is your brain is so active, it cannot go without oxygen for more than 5 minutes without risking permanent and serious damage. He's talking about the value now of exercise, and he says you can increase the roads in your body. In other words, the roads through which oxygen is actually delivered to your system through exercise. Exercise is not the oxygen in the food, it provides the access to the oxygen and the food. It's what you need in order to be able to function properly, to have your brain working properly. Show of hands, how many of you in this room right now can honestly say you get enough exercise to be able to take advantage of this little phenomenon right here? How many of you really can say, I get enough exercise to do that? It's not a lot of you. And you're all in the back. What's going on with that? You were like, oh, we don't need this talk. It's cool. We're back here now. So this is science. This is serious stuff. This is not something that you can work through. This is not something you can push through. This is something that's the real deal. And so getting enough exercise, getting enough sleep, eating decently, and getting the nutrients you need, it is a machine. My life began to change when I started to look at my body as a machine. I just started thinking of these athletes I was around. These guys and girls have bodies that are unbelievable. They won the genetic lottery. They are astonishing individuals. But they all have a head and 2 arms and 2 legs, except for some of my favorite people are actually the Paralympians, and they can do it without 2 legs, which is incredible. You have a heart, you have lungs, you've got a circulatory system. It's kind of like thinking, you may have a Lamborghini, I have a Toyota Corolla. But you know what? We both go to the same gas station to get gas for our cars, okay? That's really what that's all about. So that was a game changer for me to start thinking of my health that way. It was a very, very positive thing. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of stress. Some of you stay up late because you're super excited about work and taking advantage of the market opportunity, okay? That's not the kind of stress we're talking about here. That's a very positive kind of stress. It's the stuff that makes you want to create. It's the stuff that makes you want to do really cool things. I'm talking about the kind of stress that makes you feel helpless, that makes you feel like, oh, the weight of the world's on your shoulders. You have to fire somebody today. You lose a huge client. Chronic stress, which is the stress that we have when we have the stress hormones kind of running through our bodies just too much. The stress hormone cortisol just is kind of in a constant flux through our body. That's when you start getting this. You start getting anxiety and depression and digestive problems and heart disease. My dad was very depressed, sadly. And weight gain and sleep problems and memory and concentration impairment. And all I want to ask you is if somebody walked into your office and said, please hire me and I have all these conditions, would you think that they could do a good job for you? Okay, probably not. Okay, this is the science. We can't get away from being human. We just can't get away from being human. In fact, Mark actually said this to me when we first started talking. He just said, we haven't had a health speaker in several years. We all think we're bulletproof. Did you say that, remember? Yeah. So my job today is to convince you that you're not. And then didn't talk about what to do about it. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. These are some of the things that really compound stress and excess refined sugar. I'm hearing this from my clients now already. The holiday season has officially begun, and lots of offices are marinated in candy right now. They really are. But putting stress and sugar in the same place is asking for trouble. Putting stress and excessive alcohol consumption, not 1 or 2 glasses of wine a night with your significant other, but I'm talking about the excessive type, that is asking for trouble. Stress plus no exercise is asking for trouble. I get my best ideas when I'm exercising. I wrote half this talk during the Victoria Half Marathon 2 weeks ago. Seriously, I mean, that's when I get my best ideas, not when I'm falling over branches, but when I actually get to finish the race. And lack of sleep. Stress plus lack of sleep just compounds the problem. Okay, that's some of the science. Okay, if you remember one thing from this part of the talk, please remember that chronic stress is the opposite of wellness. That's it. Chronic stress is the opposite of wellness. So it stands to reason that if we can figure out ways of alleviating and identifying chronic stress, we might go a long way in creating really healthy work environments. Sound good? Kind of simple. Okay, so here's what I started to think about. When do I make really bad decisions? Now you can grab the papers and the pens that are on your tables. You're going to have actually 2 pieces of paper each. One has the circles on it. The other one is actually for a little bit later. Grab the one with the circles on it right now and go to the side that says now. And let me talk you through what this is all about. I had to start thinking about when do I make my best health decisions and when do I make my worst health decisions? What's that one all about? Well, I tend to make bad decisions when I'm tired. That's actually a thing. Like if you're tired, you can't make great decisions. So I've noticed in myself, and I do have to be fairly careful about the way that I eat, for example, that I am much more likely to want the big bag of Cheetos at 10 o'clock at night as opposed to 7 o'clock in the morning. It's that simple. I'm rested in one and I'm exhausted in the other, okay? When it comes to when I'm hungry at work, say you're hungry between meals, what do you actually do? I used to be somebody who, in that first job out of college, I would just go and, where's the candy bowl? Where's the break room? Who brought stuff in? Oh, it's donuts. Oh, it's candy. Oh, let's take a little bit of that. That's energy, right? Or I'd also drink tons of coffee, okay? A little bit of coffee. I'm Italian. I will never take you away from your coffee, I promise. Not going to happen. But excessive amounts of it, trouble. And the third one is this, when everything goes haywire. That is an incredibly important thing for you to think about as business leaders, and I will tell you why. Because when everything goes haywire, when you just get a terrible phone call and you've just lost your biggest client and payroll is next week, I bet the next thing you're going to do is going to affect your health in either direction. All right? In a few seconds, I'm going to tell you about the day that happened to me, what this is really all about. So as we're talking, just if you want to jot down at any point when you get an idea about what do I do right now when I'm tired during the day? What do I do when I'm hungry during the day? What do I do when things go crazy during the day? And it's just kind of taking a temperature of where you are right now. You know, and don't worry, I'm not going to make you read it out loud, trust me. So if you do something horrible, like go home and yell at your kids, I'm not going to, we might have a talk afterwards, but just knowing what you do. What are you prone to do when you're tired, when you're hungry, when everything goes just nuts? And while you're doing that, let me tell you a little bit what I realized I was doing. So this is my kind of before picture of 6 years ago and thinking about what was I doing. When I was tired during the day, I might just try to work through it. Well, come on, you got to be tough. I mean, hey, I went to an Ivy League school, Phi Beta Kappa, that works. Not once was I ever told to take care of my health. I was just told, go, 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 hard, 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 everything. And I was just working through it and just forcing myself. I used to grab sugar. It goes right into your bloodstream and it goes right out again, and then you crash and you want more of it. That's how I got to be 6 sizes bigger than I am today. Here's one. Uh-oh. I'd start to have some really negative self-talk. I should be tougher than this. I should be better than this. This should be easier than it is. I'm the dumb one. What's going on here? This is something that starts probably before college for those of us who go to these fancy schools, and it never ever stops. We have to really fight and focus and say, wait a second, I'm just tired. It's not that I'm unable to do something, you know? But I didn't know that back then, so I would sit there and I would have this negative self-talk that was going on. I'd act like I was working, but of course I wasn't. Anybody ever do that? Like, I'm working, really I am, Facebook, and you know, and start surfing the news sites. That's always very helpful because there's lots of good news on those. I have a rule now that I will not read the New York Times before about 5 or 6 in the evening, and it's just for recreation after that. Otherwise, I just get too sad. There's a lot of bad things going on in the world, and the New York Times has every single one of them on page 1. And I'll drink a ton of coffee. That was me before, okay? That was tired. All right, how about hungry? Well, if I'm hungry between meals and I'm in an office, what do? Well, I'm gonna grab a sugary snack. Do you see a trend going on here? Okay, do you see what was going on with me? I'd wander to the break room. I'm just gonna take a little break, and then if there's something around that somebody else brought in, maybe a nibble here, a nibble there, figure that out. I would drink diet soda to try to make myself feel full. Not because it was just a beverage, but to actually take the place of food. And of course, it can't take the place of food. It has 0 nutritional value in it. And I would drink it by the 6-pack, no question. Diet Coke made a lot of money off of me over the years. I'd hit the vending machines. And of course, back in 1994, when I was first out of college, that's not going to have super great choices in it. And there's always a candy bowl at the front desk, right? Isn't there? Anybody have a fruit bowl at the front desk? You do? Fabulous. I like that. I'd love all of you to have a fruit bowl instead of a candy bowl at the front desk starting right now. So just an idea. So that was hungry before. Okay. And then there was everything goes haywire. Things go nuts. Something goes crazy. And I spent 3 Olympics in sports television, and that is a world full of screamers. And it's full of executive producers who scream at you so that you take the blame for whatever they actually did. Okay, I'll say that one more time. You're an associate producer, something like that. Your job is to take the blame for other people's problems and to get screamed at constantly. It is a really, really hard way to make a living. So, you could go and yell at somebody if someone's yelled at you. How's that sound? Sound good? Everyone ever done that? I did that to somebody at the Athens Olympics, and I still feel bad about it to this day. I did, because I got screamed at first. Ugh. go on complete autopilot, have absolutely no idea what happened, and you come to a few days later and the problem might be solved, but there's all these wrappers from food around or empty bottles or things. What happened? Autopilot. Give myself permission to do anything. Let's go to happy hour. Let's stay up late. It doesn't matter. Hey, it's been a really bad day. I deserve this. Yeah. Drink or eat excessively. Do you see a pattern in my life? Stay up late worrying. Lose sleep. There we go. Oh my goodness, what do you do? Well, here's an idea that changed the way I thought about this. That all or nothing idea that I told you about, I want you to replace it with the idea I'm going to give you right now. I want you to replace it with an idea that a gentleman named James Clear put on his website a little while ago called the aggregation of marginal gains. And that is what you're going to do is when you take this paper home and you say, what am I doing right now? The next thing you're going to do is ask yourself, what's next? Because the other side of the paper has exactly the same 3 circles on it, but what you're going to do now is say, what's next? What's the 1% better thing I can do in each of these situations? Not the perfect solution, but the 1% solution. Because if you start thinking that way, what you're going to notice is at the beginning of that curve, not a whole lot of things have changed. So when I first started losing weight, the only thing that really changed was my grocery list changed, okay? And I had to start figuring out how to cook. That was sort of painful at the time. And then I had to just kind of wait because it doesn't happen immediately. It takes a while. But you know what? At some point, you hit a critical mass, and suddenly people start to tell you look good. And suddenly you think, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, I still remember the day a barista at my favorite coffee shop said, you've lost a lot of weight, haven't you? And I was only about halfway there at that point, but boy, did I feel good. So because it begins to build on itself. And then you start saying, whoa, where am I now? What's this like? I mean, can you do the math here? 6 years ago, I was in those pants, and today I'm talking to you. What a cool life it's been over the last 6 years getting here. It's an honor to be here, to be thinking about these ideas with you. 1% marginal gains, they matter. They matter. So that's what you think about. You think about those 3 things. You're tired, you're hungry, everything goes haywire. Today when I'm tired, you know what I do? I sleep or I exercise. And believe it or not, exercise can work if you are tired. I've had sleepless nights and I'll go out for a run and afterwards I actually feel okay. It is all right, it can be done. If you really have to keep going, a good solid aerobic workout will actually keep you there. Kind of cool. When I'm hungry, I eat really healthy food. You will never find me without some kind of a healthy snack with me. And I've got places all around town where I know if I need something, I got it. I mean, Starbucks oatmeal, I've been known to have a Starbucks oatmeal with the blueberries at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's a great little snack that really keeps me going if I have to keep going and I don't have dinner going on for a couple more hours. So it's really, really cool. You just think about that. Now here's the dicey one. What do you do when everything goes haywire? Because this is the one you can't control. This is the one where bad stuff is happening and you have to deal with it and you might not have anywhere to start with. You don't have any idea, where do I go? What do I do? I've been blindsided. The rug's been pulled out from under me. So let me tell you a story about the day that I found out what I now do when everything goes haywire. Are you ready for this? Okay. So 6 months ago tomorrow, so it's March 31st, 2014, and I've just wrapped up a project for a client, and the general basic facts around the situation is that we had a stakeholder, and the stakeholder had hired the person I was working with and had a financial interest in that person doing well, success, so kind of an investor relationship. Some of this person's work had been outsourced to me. I had this idea that we were equals. He had this idea that I was working for him, and that if something went wrong, that it was my fault. And I found out about this because I was on an airplane, and I was flying to Georgia to give the biggest talk of my professional life at a national health and fitness conference. What a great opportunity, what a great day. By the time I landed, I had an email sitting in my phone and everything had fallen apart. I had done this work on behalf of the person I was working with. He said it was awesome. He wrote to me that it was awesome. The stakeholder hated it, and he told a different story to the stakeholder. And suddenly I've lost my biggest client. And it's Monday afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia, the land of fried alligator. It is not an easy place to find a healthy meal. And now I have to get ready for the biggest talks of my life. in a situation where I am alone, my husband is back here, and I am floored. I really think I know what Pete Carroll might have felt like after that loss to the Cardinals, and just, I cannot believe what just happened. What do I do next? And I would love to tell you that the very next thing I did was to just get a great healthy meal and then start, just fight, but I'm gonna cop to it. I really had a big burger and fries. A really big burger and fries. What I did was I stayed in my hotel room for hours just rereading these emails that were really, some emails just don't need to be read more than once, you know, for about 15 seconds, and just being absolutely floored by what had occurred. And I just stared at the walls till about 9 o'clock at night and then said, if I don't get a meal in somewhere, it's just gonna be me and the mini bar for the rest of the night, and that's not gonna go well. I'm gonna have 2 problems after that. Actually 3, because my client is not gonna pay the mini bar bill. So I had to get something. I wound up at a really kind of cool little brew pub. I spent about half an hour on the menu, the poor waiter, and I had a cup of gumbo, and then I just kept on going back to the burger and fries. And I'm somebody now who can trust my cravings. I'll eat a big burger and fries after a marathon. That's what my body wants. But I just kept, I want it. Fine, Nicole, just have it. All right, we're good. Went back, spent a sleepless night. And I'm supposed to be at my best on Wednesday morning. So now it's Tuesday morning, and I've slept not one wink, and I am not somebody who can do all-nighters. So now I've had no sleep. What's next? Well, what's next was, I said, all right, Nicole, you got to find a healthy breakfast. I want you to pick one place. You're going to go there every day. You're going to get a healthy breakfast in. And then I want you to pick the place you're going to eat lunch every day this week. You can get a healthy lunch in. And I just took away all of the decisions that could get dicey. Because for me, food decisions in times of stress can get dicey. All right, I got a vigorous workout in every single day. And by vigorous, I do not mean sweaty, I mean stinky. I mean, you did not want to be with me in the elevator going back up to the room afterwards, okay? Hard workouts. Exercise helps us most when we least want to do it. Believe it or not, if you are tired, if you are depressed, if you are really, really in your head about something, the best thing you can do is to get in a really solid workout. I did that 3 out of the 4 days I was there, because I was there all day Tuesday through all day Friday, got there Monday afternoon, had my sleepless night. On the day that I did not have a hard workout, hey, I'm an Olympic sports reporter, what did I do? I walked to Centennial Olympic Park. This is an Olympic city. And I just stayed around the things that I loved. I had dinner with a friend who works for CNN on Tuesday night. I had my 1 alcoholic beverage of the week with her. I was not going to start drinking on my own, not that week. And then Wednesday morning came. I have one marker of success when I do a breakout session for a convention, and that is this. I don't care if people come in late, because you know they're coming in late and doing all this stuff and peeking their head in. My metric is this: once you're in the room, can I keep your attention? Did anybody leave early? I gave that talk over 2 days. 100 people one day, 75 people the next day. Not one person left early. And I just said, all right, you did your job here. I came home and I started to basically do the business equivalent of watching game film. What happened here? And in those moments, I was thinking about, did I trust the wrong person? Did I not do enough due diligence? What did I do? What did I do? And I tried really hard not to have the negative self-talk. And then I remembered something really awesome, that great story actually about Scott Hamilton, the Olympic gold medalist in figure skating in 1984. In his first professional competition after turning pro, after the Olympics, he basically wiped the ice with his behind. He just could not stay upright. And he was thoroughly embarrassed. He could not believe the Olympic gold medalist just went in and embarrassed himself. And he was in Moscow at the time, even further away than Atlanta, my goodness. He flies home, and he's in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania airport, and he runs into Lynn Swann, formerly Pittsburgh Steelers. And here's what Lynn said to him, and this is brilliant. I love this quote. If you do something long enough, everything will happen to you. And that thought saved the day, because I wasn't a bad business person. I wasn't bad at my job. My work had involved writing. And so I've been writing since I was a teenager, professionally. But you know what? I just did some extra stuff just to prove to myself that I was a good writer. 3 weeks after that horrible email was sent, I wrote my way onto the front page of the Seattle Times with 2 first-person essays about being at the Boston Marathon last year and this year. Said, Don't talk to me about how tempted I was to send that email, from the sports editor, because I actually sent them in over the transom for the Take-Two blog. It was going to be online only, and they write back, this is good enough for page 1. I really wanted to forward that email on to my stakeholder for that deal that went through. I said, see, no, but I didn't do it. I didn't make bad business decisions. And 3 weeks after that email, I ran my 4th consecutive Boston Marathon. As it happened, I ran it 9 minutes faster than I had run it 21 years earlier when I was a senior in college. Oh yeah. You can get better with age. Age is not an impediment to health. There is absolutely no age limit for doing what I'm talking about today. It's just what's next. I'll never be 22 again. I don't want to be. I want to have learned all the stuff I've learned. And then I started making the best business decisions of my life. I decided to do something that I'm sure everyone in this room can relate to. How many of you, when you started your businesses, had a safety job on the side? And you were kind of doing the safe thing for a while and trying to do your business? I'm curious to know, how many of you did that? Anybody at all? That's really interesting, because you know what? That's what I'd been doing. And I finally realized that doesn't work at all. You have to just go for it. You have to be all in. And that's when I finally let go of everything that looked safe, because it wasn't really safe. That job that I lost, it was supposed to be safe. If you ever get a chance to Google Jim Carrey commencement speech. Jim Carrey, the actor, has given this astonishing commencement speech. He tells the story of his father, who really was a great comic, but never ever wanted to work at it because it was too risky, became an accountant, and then he lost his job. He said, you can fail at the thing you don't want to do, so you may as well do what you love and go for it. And that's what started to happen finally. Now here's the weirdest part of the story. I'm not supposed to be that functional. I'm the girl who used to eat Haagen-Dazs for dinner and cookie dough for dessert. I'm not supposed to be somebody who can do this. And I became thoroughly convinced that we think better when we're healthy, because I suddenly was able to get really, really clear, because the skill set that I've been learning is something that's in the literature called positive problem solving. I didn't have a diet plan, exercise plan. I was learning behavioral psychology. I just didn't realize it at the time. It's a very, very powerful idea, very powerful idea. Our brains can change throughout our lives. And the concept is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. And the source here is MedicineNet. They're coming out with new research. There was actually research done just in September from Tufts University that proves that if you're somebody who loves junk food the way that I used to be, you eat healthily for 6 months, and the pleasure centers in your brain will light up with healthy food. Isn't that cool? That was exactly my experience. I do not walk around the world really, really wishing that I had another Twinkie. I just don't. I crave healthy stuff now. It's weird. This was not supposed to be the way that I live. My mom, when I was 11 years old, lost 93 pounds. And then her father died. And I remember this from all of my life. In the next few months, she regained it all. She didn't have any way of coping. Now, interestingly, and this is where you come in as role models, when you do something healthy, do not be surprised if the people who report to you start to do it too, even if you don't tell them what you're doing. Eric Slava and I were actually one time talking to, I think, a colleague of his. We were over at the Columbia Tower Club, you remember? And he said, yeah, I lost about 20 pounds recently, and then this weird thing started to happen. All the people who I work with started to lose weight too. And he was like, I don't get it. And I said, you don't get it? I get it. Because here's the fun part. My mom is 79 years old, and now she's maintaining a 50-pound weight loss because her kid figured it out. So we're on the phone all the time talking about healthy recipes and things like that. She's 79 years old doing this stuff. I want to just give you an idea. What if? What if, okay, you've lost your biggest client, you're on the plane to Atlanta, it's the land of fried alligator, you're not going to get healthy meals unless you really fight for it. What if I was, say, the CEO of a corporation, and I land and I have an email from my chief operating officer, and it says this: okay, Nicole, I know the email you just saw is tough. Here's what I want you to do. Here's the address of the gym where I want you to go right now from the airport, and I want you to get a hard workout in. I want you to turn your cell phone off. I want you to put in your funniest, your most awesome comedy, and just forget about it for an hour. Then I want you to go to this restaurant, and here's the menu, and here's the healthy option you've got at that restaurant. You do all those things. Then go to the hotel and then check in. 8 o'clock tonight, you've got plenty of time. We will get on the phone. We will start dealing with this. Do not think about this until you've gotten a healthy meal and a good workout in. So anybody in this room who actually thinks that in a moment like that, you would actually be able to do that, can you promise me that you might try? Because doesn't that change everything? Doesn't it? Doesn't it change everything? It changes everything about the way our brains work. It changes everything about how functional we are. Why not? It's easy. It's super easy. I got to eat anyway, right? Hotel's got a gym. It's free. It's easy. What if? What if we all became people who were health leaders? What would that do? You see? So when we talk about wellness, when I talk about wellness, and by the way, I just want to let you know, Russell Benoit and I are buddies. I've known him for several years. I love what he's doing with every move. And I'll tell you that when you do what I'm talking about in this context, every move will really work. It will really work because it won't be random. It won't be, oh, here's our wellness program. Okay, I've seen that actually happen where people are just go, go, go. Oh, we're going to have this wellness program now. Here's your portal. No, no, no. You build it from the top. You build it from the CEO suite. And then these programs work, and they work really, really well. And he wants you as a repeat client because he's going to get great, great success with you, right? I mean, that's what this is all about. You're so welcome, Russell. Okay, there is an elephant in the room. Do you see it? It's right there. Okay. Alligators and elephants. I mean, this is a good one. Okay. And here it is. There is a problem with doing all of this because it sounds so darn easy, doesn't it? What's the problem? The problem is you. Because the drive that entrepreneurs have to succeed can result in a psychology that is most likely to lead us to make choices that will have a negative effect on our health in times of high stress. I say this as somebody who owns a business, and I say this as somebody who went through very, very intense undergraduate experience and very, very intense graduate experience. I wrote a really fun graduate thesis about the medical system in Madagascar, and I was high on refined sugar for 5 straight weeks writing that piece of work, and then I slept for about 3 weeks afterwards. Not a great idea. I think that the drive, the all-or-nothing drive, the I want to compete and win every day drive, that drives us to succeed as entrepreneurs is exactly what could keep us from making small incremental improvements. Now here's a scary thing though. Entrepreneur Magazine this month, November 2014, had a study that they reported on for the travel industry. And here's the study that they did. You ready? 95% of senior business leaders in this organization or in this study sample said that they recognized the importance of personal time off. Now here's the fun part. You ready? But 39% of them also said that workers who take all of their PTO are less dedicated to their job. And 35% said that they were less successful. And 38% said that those employees were less productive. We are the country in the developed world with the least amount of personal time off. And this is a bunch of Americans judging people for actually taking it. Got that? And then they went a little deeper and they said that a deeper look into the report reveals the struggle employees face to healthily balance their workloads with a culturally driven, must-work nonstop mindset. The only person who can change that inside your business is you. My father, who died when he was 58, always worked for other people. I really wish somebody had been able to catch him. I really do. I got married only a couple years ago. I was late to that particular party. But I didn't have him walk me down the aisle. I really wish someone had caught him. Just by doing simple things like getting healthy yourself and putting out a fruit bowl and letting people exercise during the day, letting them sleep for 20 minutes if they need to, you could change someone's life. You could absolutely change someone's life. Everybody is watching you. And I want to bring that message to you today. Now, we have about, do we safely have 10 minutes or are we okay? We do. I'm just curious if this brings up any questions for you. I'm going to open it up for a couple questions, and then I'm going to finish up with kind of a fun riff on all I've talked about today. Sure.
So I'm in the marketing space, and one of the challenges with this idea of working out and stuff and all that kind of business, a lot of us in this room, Microsoft happens to be one of those clients. They don't actually believe we as vendors, for the most part, ever stop, right? So every project you start is always 2 weeks late to begin with. So it's a tough game in that space to remember to be healthy and to take that time. So as much as I would like to do that in my business and with my people,
it's tough to get that response back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
You're
I don't know
exactly
if
right.
there's a good answer.
Well, you've just named one of the most challenging cultures that we have in the Puget Sound region. I have also done vendor work for Microsoft, and there is a culture there that is very much, I think, ingrained in going, maybe a little too fast sometimes. It is really, really hard to do. My suggestion, and it's hard to do because of course, you have the vendors you have, is as much as you're able to pick and choose your vendors, you can do that. As much as you're able to shift your people around if they're working, is it a contracting kind of a thing where you're actually bringing people into the, okay, you're just doing, yeah. So, it's always great to talk with your stakeholders. It is really tough to do. You can still figure out how you can, what do I do when I'm tired? What do I do when things are hard? And create as healthy a balance as you can. And then little by little, you can ask yourself, if this is not sustainable long term, then what is? So. Mm-hmm.
So just take whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. That's neat. That's cool.
Actually don't abuse it whatsoever, as long as it's open and honest like that, which is surprising.
Yeah. Was it Richard Branson who did that first, I think, or someone?
I don't know.
I've heard, was it him? Yeah. It was IBM? Yeah, this unlimited time off, take it when you need it. I love that idea. Because you're right, people really do want to work for you. They just also need to recharge. How about one more question?
Comment and a follow-up question to it. We had a positive experience with our forum around, we wanted to implement a low-carb diet among us, so we're challenging each other. It was a $1,500 violation if you ate something that wasn't low carb.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm not working for you.
And for a month, and that must-win challenge mentality was what helped us, because none of us wanted to lose. And when you're looking at a donut, it's a $1,500 donut. It's much less appetizing. And I've actually maintained that for a while. I still like the other things, exercise, and I need to find it. But the question I guess I have is, are there other tools like that can work for entrepreneurs? I mean, that's one really specific example where we turn around our problem or our attitude to make it work for us instead of work against us. So
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is funny because you say, having this low carb, and the thing that's really funny with me is that if someone had told me I had to be vegan before I was going to get healthy, I would have said, I can't, I'm Italian. And that's what I would say, low carb, bread, cheese, what are you talking about, but it worked for you. And that's really interesting. So that's kind of what I mean when I talk about kind of becoming the head coach for your health. It's about doing what works for your culture and with your company. So I would say that the kinds of tools you're looking at, it sounds like you have a quantitative group, you have a group that likes to compete against each other. I'm just going to send you over to Russell Benaroya and you guys can discuss. But wearable tech, there's a lot of games and things you can do about walking around the world, having a map in your office. Everyone's got to try to walk from here to the South Pole and back or something like that. There's all kinds of things you can do. It's just a question of letting your team actually think it up. I think that's great because they own it. So there's lots of ways to do that. I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards too. Lots of ways to do it. Just be creative. It's awesome. Yeah. I know we're going to be a little short on time, so I want to end with kind of a riff on one of my favorite football writers is a man named Peter King. He writes the Monday Morning Quarterback column for Sports Illustrated. I've never worked with him directly, but I love his work. Don't always agree with him, but I agree with him most of the time. And so he does this thing called 10 Things I Think. You ready? I'm going to give you 10 things I think about wellness. And if you want to copy the deck, by the way, I can do that for you. And you can actually go to wellnessplaybook.net/EO Seattle right now and download more of the worksheets that I gave you today. There is a password. It is lowercase, one word, and it is Go Hawks. So you can grab that too. But if you want the deck, we'll talk about how to get that afterwards. Here's 10 things I think. You ready? Here we go. For entrepreneurs, it's always that time of year. There is no such thing as the holidays being any different. It is always that time of year. You have to know how to be healthy 24/7. My worst day of my year, and I hope I can still say this on December 31st, was March 31st. It was not Thanksgiving. It was not Halloween. It was not Christmas. It was not Hanukkah. All that. Here's the bulletproof Halloween candy solution. You ready? HalloweenCandyBuyback.com. Dentists will actually buy back candy from your kids after you're done with however much they want to keep. They will send it to the troops. I'm not sure why that's better. Okay. But dentists will give you money or stuff Okay. Another friend of mine has a candy fairy where her child takes out as much as he wants. He'll have one piece a day till it's done. The rest of it goes to the candy fairy. The candy fairy brings back a toy. The toy is directly, like the size of toy is directly related to how much candy he leaves for the fairy. Okay, so it's a cute thing. It can work. You can do this. If you're struggling with your own health, of course there are people in this room who are struggling with something. Pick one thing to work on to start and make it the thing that's bugging you the most. I had to figure out how to eat. That was the game changer. I was already exercising a little bit, but a little bit of exercise, a little bit of this wouldn't have done it. What did it was learning how to eat properly. That was mine. Don't tell yourself that improving your health is hard. Banish the word from your vocabulary. Just tell yourself it's possible, because it is. I am not in any way unusual. Lots of people like me have made these kinds of life changes. I keep on seeing news stories that say that it's almost impossible to lose weight and keep it off, and I am living proof that that is just not the case. I read the studies, and I can see what's wrong with them. They're just studying the wrong stuff. You know, I just like to say I did not turn from the average American woman, because the average American woman is 166 pounds and 5'3". I'm 162 pounds at my heaviest weight, and I'm 5'4". I was average, and I did not turn from the average American woman into the Hope Diamond. That did not happen. I'm just average. I just kept on asking questions and paying attention to the answers. Just say possible, not hard. Holiday gifts from your vendors. Hey, what about just asking your vendors if they'd like to make a donation to HopeLink in lieu of gifts, like the candy boxes? Why not? Give it a shot. Hey, holiday gifts to your clients. Ask them if they'd be interested in having you give a donation to HopeLink or another food bank instead of gifts that are usually candy oriented, so that you don't have all of that candy inside your organizations for everyone to look at in the break room. Why not? Great books on this topic. I will send this stuff to you. So Flourish by Martin Seligman on positive psychology, Brain Rules by John Medina, The Power of Habit, a great book by New York Times reporter Charles Duhigg, Younger Next Year by Harry Lodge and Chris Crowley. Those guys are phenomenal. I've interviewed them both. They're very fun. And How Children Succeed by Paul Tufts. Believe it or not, how kids get grit and can be really successful in school has a lot to do with how we can stay healthy. I found a lot of really, really valuable stuff in that book. This might be Peyton Manning's year. It really might be, but I'm still going to cheer for the Hawks. All right, I'm going to do it. Here we go. You know, it takes time, but time's what it takes. You know, I didn't go from there to here overnight. It took 6 years. I feel really good about it now. It just took some time. How long did it take you to build your business? Was it worth all that time? Think of it that way, you know? That's what it's worth. If you do everything we talked about today, every move will work spectacularly inside your company. And I'm going to leave you with a serious note. You ready? We've laughed a lot today. I'm going to leave you with a serious note. Please don't tell yourself that you're bulletproof. Please do not believe that you are bulletproof. I'm going to tell you why. Around the corner from here, at the beautiful, beautiful new Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation campus, there is a program manager. And she's 34 years old. She went to Wellesley College, full scholarship to London School of Economics after that, followed her professor to the World Bank, then went into the Peace Corps, met a guy from Seattle, brought her out here. She's been working for them for the last 8 years, and she is their contact with the Global Fund. She's probably in Geneva as we speak, actually. Okay. And I happen to know that she had to attend her father's funeral when she was only 11 years old, because he died of a massive heart attack brought on by lifestyle. And I just thought you'd like to know that the person who I know so well is actually my sister. She's a brilliant young woman, and I went to my father's funeral when I was 19. She went, and she was 11. This is serious stuff, and I really, really hope that today you've gotten some inspiration and some ideas for how you can start bringing these ideas into your life and into your world. You have forms on your tables that are actually for me. They are feedback forms that will help me to get to be a better presenter. I might get a chance to present again to an audience like this, and I would love it if before you leave today, you could just fill it out and let me know what you've heard that's important and how I can get better as a speaker. This is a really important part of the process for me because I consistently try to get better and better at what I do. This is how you can find me. I would love to hear from you. I wish all of you the very, very best of health and for a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. And once again, I just want to thank so much EO Seattle and especially Mark Sims for having me here today. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back to Mark.